Good morning and welcome to the small town of Umphang. They have a bit of a dining area here, like sort of an outside dining area that guests can use at this guest house. So I'm just heading down there to plug in the kettle and make a cup of instant coffee. The weather here is quite different from how it was in Mountainside. It's very wet, very damp and humid. Maybe it's this way in Mountainside as well right now, I don't know. And the weather pattern has definitely changed because there's a lot of rain. Every day that I've been here, it's rained heavily in the afternoon at about 3:30, 4 o'clock. It's been regular heavy rains. So that's something to consider during my time here. I'll show you the surroundings here and a bit of the sky. I don't know if it comes across on the GoPro. It actually looks a lot brighter on the screen than it does in real life, because to my eyes, everything here is quite damp and wet and dripping, and the skies are sort of gray and overcast. Though I think the sun will come out a little bit later. The sun, I don't think, has really reached above the horizon just yet. It's just on its way. And the whole courtyard area is also quite wet. There's my trusty steed for this journey. Nice and quiet. Bit of birds chirping, and that's all you hear. Umphang really is quite a small town. This guest house is right inside the town, and yet, as you can see, here's the entrance. And if you go to the entrance and look out the front gate, you can see I'm right in the countryside, right at the edge of town. It's all farming land right here at the edge of the guest house, heading off into hills in the distance. Very green and lush. Quite a change in scenery from Mountainside. So I've been enjoying that quite a bit since I got here. And here's the dining area I mentioned. I normally have my own little travel kettle so I can boil water in my room, but my travel kettle broke down and I didn't bring it with me on this trip. But they have a whole range of kettles right here. So I'm gonna sit down here at one of these tables and have a quick cup of coffee. It's funny, you really know you're in a more jungly area. I'm absolutely positive the GoPro can't pick it up, but right now this entire table is covered by a spider web. It's huge. Where's the edge of it? Here's the edge on one side, and it goes all the way over to here. So it's a huge round circle, 3 or 4 feet across, the thinnest spider webbing you can imagine. Amazing. Look at that. And this was made overnight, of course. This was not here yesterday. This would have been made by a spider during the night, but I don't see a spider anywhere. And the anchoring cords would go, all the way down to this table edge and then all the way up to the roof somewhere up there. It's like a massive construction project done by some tiny spider last night. Poor guy is not going to get any food out of it though, because whoever sits at this table, of course, is going to break the web pretty quickly. It's almost invisible. But again, yeah, I don't see the spider anywhere. Strange. Whoa. Uh-oh. That's a weird thing. Of course, the custom here is to remove your shoes everywhere you go, but it ends up being really weird because the distance from the door to my room, which is right there, down to the bottom of the stairs, which is right there, I'm not allowed to wear shoes, but then it's open ground from here to here, where I have to wear shoes because it's mud and dirt and gravel, and then I get here and I have to take my shoes off again, right? So it's like I only need shoes for this like 15-foot section, so I didn't bother to even put on shoes. I just left my room in bare feet because bare feet, bare feet, bare feet, bare feet, bare feet, bare feet. But I just noticed I'm leaving muddy, bare footprints all over the floor here because my feet got muddy from that outdoor area. So I kind of screwed up. Not very exciting coffee, though it's not a big deal that I left muddy footprints. In fact, the floor here is very dirty anyway. Just, I think because there was such a heavy rain yesterday that a lot of water just poured into this. Oh shoot, I just hit some of the, I broke one of the support lines on this side of the spider web. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. But I think a lot of the water splashes along the edges, and then mud and dirt just kind of splashes in anyway. So this whole area is, I'm sure there's a woman who works here. I see her during the day. She's sweeping up leaves and cleaning and feeding the cats and doing different things. The spider web is still attached to my fingers. Come on. I'm trying to break free. I can't. It's still attached. I can't get off it. Come on. There it goes. Not to be nerdy, but you can really see how a concept like Spider-Man would evolve, especially with the webbing and how strong it is, because that stuff is so thin, as I said, you can't even see it. And yet I could feel how strong it was just by pulling on it. Nothing really exciting for about my coffee. This is instant coffee I got at a local shop here, Birdie Espresso. And I would normally just have ordinary, like Nestle instant coffee that I spoon in. I don't usually buy these 2 or 3-in-1 packages. I think this is 2-in-1. It says low sugar or no sugar anyway. Spiderweb is going into my coffee. In a previous video, or the previous video to this one, I was talking about that coffee shop in that small town about 50 kilometers south of Mountainside, and I commented that I'm not a big fan of the tiny stools that so many coffee shops use. They have like 20 or 30 little stools everywhere, and they make the place look kind of casual and interesting, but I really prefer a full-size chair, and this is what I'm talking about. You would not believe how heavy this chair is. When I first picked this up, I thought it was bolted to the floor. It was that heavy. Solid wood, heavy wood table, and the whole veranda here is made from tree trunks, very heavy wooden construction. This is what I'm talking about. From this angle, I can really see that spider web, or half of it. I destroyed half of it, but it was going to happen sooner or later anyway. The plan for today is really just to walk around the town of Umphang a little bit, sort of take some video of what the town looks like, and then there is a cave nearby. I mean, the big attraction here in Umphang, of course, is the Lo Su Waterfall. That's the main, well, there's 2 main things about this town. Number 1 is the waterfall, Lo Su Waterfall, which is supposed to be the highest, widest, biggest waterfall in all of Thailand. It's one of these cascading waterfalls that has a lot of different sections. So it's not like a single chunk of water that goes over a cliff. It's like a wide, like 400-meter wide cliff, and water is coming over over the entire width of this area and going in cascades and levels all the way to the bottom. At least that's what I understand and from what I see from the pictures. But some estimates say it's higher than Niagara Falls in Canada and the United States. Anyway, it's supposed to be a pretty major waterfall. But as far as I can make out, even if I wanted to go there, and I'm not that excited about waterfalls anyway, to be honest, but even if I wanted to go there, I don't think I can. It's a little bit hard to figure out, but I think even now to get there, you can go there either on a river rafting jungle trek, a 2 or 3 day affair that you have to organize with a trekking company. You can't just go on your own. Or you need a 4x4 vehicle because you have to go down a 25 or 30 kilometer jungle road, which is very rough, and to get from the highway to kind of a park ranger station, and then you camp there, and then it's like a 1.5 kilometer walk to the waterfall. And people would come here in groups, organize this expedition with a company, and they all pile into a 4x4, and then they go there, and you know, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing you have to organize. And even if I were here back in those days, I probably wouldn't bother. There's lots of waterfalls around where you don't have to go through all that to get to it. And I'm not that excited about waterfalls anyway. But now, at this time, with no tourism, I don't think there are any organized expeditions to the waterfall. It might even be closed. I've noticed that a lot of the places around here are marked as closed, and I think because of the pandemic. And I think the rangers close the access road to the waterfalls anyway during heavy rain periods, because the roads just become impassable even to 4x4s. But this is all based on information that could be old now. It may not be current information. But anyway, the upshot is I don't think I'll be going to the waterfall. And that's what the big attraction here. The second biggest attraction, I think, is just the road to get here, that road of 1,219 curves. And I shot a time lapse of that whole journey from beginning to end. It's having fun with my GoPros. And beyond that, there are some little things around here. And one of the little things is a cave. So I think I'm going to go to that cave today. So that's kind of my big plan for today after I have a cup of coffee, or maybe 2 or 3 cups of coffee, and go exploring the town a bit. And then I'll be heading out to that cave. The whole cave trip may end up in a second separate video, because right now, what I also want to do, what I sat down to do, in fact, was to have a cup of coffee and reply to some of the comments on YouTube from the video I posted of my drive from, or my drive through the road of 1,219 curves, which I found out later on is called the Sky Highway. I didn't even know it had a name like that. But anyway, my water's boiling. Time to get my cup of coffee. I had one interesting technology adventure recently. In the package that came from Armando a while back, containing a GoPro, 2 GoPros, and a bunch of other accessories, one of the accessories was a remote control. And my understanding at that time, like this GoPro came packaged, or this remote came packaged with the GoPro Hero 3, which was in the box, and my understanding was that it could only work with GoPros of that era. Like maybe it could work with a Hero 3 and a Hero 4, and it wouldn't work with anything beyond that. But not that long ago, someone sent me a comment, so comments can be very useful, saying that, no, you can use this old remote with the new GoPros. You just have to follow a special procedure to pair them up, and yeah, it works. And it can work with 2 GoPros at the same time, though that gets a little bit complicated, I find. But you can pair it with 2 GoPros and start and stop recording and power them on and off whenever you want. So that's what I just did. You can see the light flashing there. I used it to turn on the GoPro, which is sitting across the table from me, and I can turn it on and off, which is I don't know, it's not a hardship to reach across and hit the record button with my finger. But there are lots of situations where, yeah, this remote would come in very handy. So yeah, very, very cool. I didn't think I'd be able to use this with my Hero 7, but apparently I can. And what I'm going to do here actually is set up my keyboard and type replies to these comments. But I thought maybe while I'm enjoying my cup of coffee, I could talk about them a little bit. It's funny, I have so many small technology adventures that, as far as I can tell, nobody else seems to have to deal with in their life, whether it's camera related or just life related. For example, I've recently had to start using reading glasses, and I don't know a whole heck of a lot about reading glasses or glasses in general, but it turns out I need several pairs of them, because this pair, the focusing distance is the right distance if I'm typing. I'm typing and the screen is here. This sharpens the text at that distance. But if I'm reading my phone and holding it here, it's not right. So the text is blurry. It's only that far away that they work. So I end up having multiple pairs of reading glasses. And I've never heard of anyone else having to do this. But if I'm typing, I wear these ones or a similar pair. And then if I want to look at my phone, I have to switch to another pair. There. And these ones, if I'm typing, the screen is not clear. But if I'm holding the phone here, this is the right distance for looking at my phone. That's one of the reasons I haven't bought like prescription reading glasses, because they can go in and they measure my eyes and tell me what my prescription is, but at what distance? This distance, this distance? I mean, I need a separate pair of glasses for every 6 inches of distance from my eyes. Is that just me? I mean, do I have weird eyes, or is everybody like that? I've never been able to figure that out. Nice. Not as nice as a cup of coffee from a shop here, that's for sure, but you know, I don't mind instant coffee. Yeah, comments. So yeah, this is actually an interesting comment right off the top, because it relates to the video that I posted. In the very first comment, I woke up this morning and there was a notification on my phone where ST says, "I'd rather prefer the rambling, slow videos to the fast, dizzy ones like this one." And I knew people would comment that all that turning in the time lapse, you know, you watch that and you start to get dizzy from watching it. I knew that, of course, but I thought, I love time lapses. I just think they're a lot of fun. So, yeah. And I shot the whole time lapse anyway. I took the time to set up the GoPro and have it running for that entire time in time lapse mode. So I thought, well, since I took the time to make it, I might as well post it, and people can watch it if they want to, not watch it if they don't want to, you know. So anyway, I threw it up there. And but as ST says, he would prefer the slow rambling video. And version 1 of my slow rambling video I'm going to post later on today. The weird thing is that even the slow rambling video, I cut out probably 30, 40 minutes of other stuff. And I'll probably now make another video, just call it deleted scenes and rambling. Things that I removed from the video. I'm talking about technology, I'm talking about other YouTubers, travel vloggers. Just as I'm driving the scooter, I've got thoughts, and I'm just talking about various subjects. So I thought all these deleted scenes, I'll throw them together into a third video. So my trip from Mesot to Umphang will end up with 3 videos. The time lapse of the Sky Highway, kind of an hour-long rambling video covering the whole journey, and then a third one, which will be like deleted scenes. And that's probably what I'll end up with. But that's, yeah, it's what the crazy thing you end up doing when you're me shooting YouTube videos. Someone left a comment to a video from Myanmar, which again is actually kind of interesting because of the situation in Myanmar with the military coup and the demonstrations, there's kind of a renewed interest in Myanmar, and people are typing words related to Myanmar into the YouTube search feature. So suddenly a lot more people are watching my videos from Myanmar that never watched them before. So I'm getting all these comments on my videos from Myanmar. Just at first I thought, wow, why am I getting all these comments all of a sudden? And of course, it's because people are searching for Myanmar videos. Anyway, this is from a very old video, and Robert Samo says, "How does this guy talk so much by himself? Amazed." And comments like that are always kind of interesting to me, because when someone writes a comment, you can't pick up on tone. So half the time, I never quite know if people are being serious or sarcastic. If they don't leave a smiley face or some sort of emoticon, you can't tell what the mood is of the comment. So when we get to this 1219 Curves video, one of the most recent videos is from DNA Orion, and he says, "Nice music." And I think he's being serious. I think he actually liked the music, but he could also be saying, "Nice music." You know, he could be being sarcastic. You just don't know. So even when you get a really nice complimentary comment, sometimes you wonder, are they really saying, are they being serious, or are they just joking around and teasing you? You're never quite sure. And the second one is exactly like that too, from Win, and he says, "Road sign shots are the best!" Exclamation mark. And I looked at that one and I thought, is he being sarcastic? Road sign shots are the best, because I ended the video with just some quick pictures of road signs at the end of this video. And in fact, in the rambling video, there's actually like a 5-minute section where I talk about one of the road signs. And as I was shooting that, I was thinking, yeah, somebody's going to make fun of me for talking for 10 minutes about a road sign. I know that's going to happen, you know, but yeah, I thought it was interesting. But he says, "Road sign shots are the best." And you got to wonder, is he being serious or is he teasing me? It's like, why did he put road signs in his video? They're not interesting, you know? You just don't know. Manuel Rodriguez says, "Do you ever eat?" Interesting comment, because yeah, these days, well, in general, food is not a big part of my life. So on that trip, on that whole scooter ride from Mesa to Umphang, the journey was from start to finish, call it 9 hours. I didn't eat at all. I didn't eat the whole day. I had a cup of coffee and a cup of tea, but that's it. Yeah, I had nothing to eat for the whole day. I didn't have breakfast when I left. I had a cup of instant coffee. I didn't eat anything during the drive. Yeah, I didn't have anything to eat for the whole day. So yeah, I do eat, but I generally have one meal a day, and it's more about putting fuel in the tank than enjoying a meal. So I often don't even, you know, capture the event on the GoPro, because it's such a basic meal, it's not worth talking about. Dennis Gagne said, "To fix the road, you have drive pilings down." You would drive pilings down. I commented in the video where there's a section where the whole hillside had become eroded. And that's kind of a funny thing. As I was driving on the scooter, I wanted to say something about this construction and how they're fixing the road. And I knew there was a word to describe what happened to the hillside. Because of rain and the river, it had eroded. The whole side of the hillside had eroded, and then the road had collapsed. But I could not think of the word erode. And that happens to me all the time when I'm shooting video. I'll be talking and I know what word I want, but when I'm speaking into the GoPro, my IQ drops considerably and I just can't come up with these words. So as I was driving, I was like, oh shoot, what's erode? I couldn't think of the verb erode. But that's what I was trying to say in the video, that the whole hillside had eroded, the road fell away. And as a construction crew, how in the world do you build up an entire mountainside? Like, if you're engineering, if you don't get it right from the beginning, and then it ends up falling away, eroding, how in the world do you repair that? It must be a monumental job. And he was saying that, well, they drive pilings into the ground, and then they can put dirt and rock and gravel and build the hill back up again, which makes sense. But still, I stand by my idea that, man, that's got to be hard to do. Next comment is also from Dennis Gagne, and he says, at halfway, I am dizzy because of the, the time lapse through the road. Yeah, that's what happens with a time lapse like that. And as I said, I almost didn't even post it because I knew not many people could sit through a time lapse that long. But I'm really fascinated by time lapses. This goes all the way back to the 70s, I think. The movie Koyaanisqatsi came out. And that showed everything in fast motion, time lapses. And that was kind of a new thing at the time. Smartphones and cameras, digital cameras didn't exist, of course, in the 70s. And you needed professional filming equipment and studio techniques in order to film a city and then speed up the traffic. And you can actually see the traffic flow in high speed, stuff like that. And I don't know, I've always been fascinated by time lapse. In high school as well, they show you the biology films where a flower opens up, in a time lapse, or a plant grows. You see something that happens over the course of several hours or several days, and you see it in fast motion. I've just always found that interesting. Tim Bim Jim says, you were lucky there was very little traffic coming from behind. With the noise of the bike, you don't know they're behind you until the last second. I agree, the road itself is quite manageable. And it's an interesting point because the mirror on this scooter, I don't really like it very much. On my touring bicycle, I made a big point out of getting these special mirrors. They're round ones, and they give you a really wide field of view. It distorts distance. So you get that Jurassic Park joke about objects in mirror are closer than they appear. So on my touring bike, this round mirror gives me a really super wide field of view, but you can't really judge how near or far objects are. But as I'm riding the touring bike and I glance at that mirror, I can see everything coming up behind me. I'm just aware of things coming up behind me naturally because I see it so easily and I see everything. The mirrors on a typical scooter, they're flat mirrors and they're kind of, there. And I'm always monitoring the mirror. I'm watching for any traffic coming up behind me. I'm very nervous about that because I think the most dangerous thing on that road is getting hit from behind, especially if you're on a scooter or a bicycle. Assuming you have the leg power to ride a bicycle over that road. I wonder if people do that. It would be challenging. So I'm very aware of traffic coming up behind me, but on that mirror, on the scooter, I can't really see very much. I end up looking at the mirror and then I have to kind of adjust my head. I have to go up, go down. I have to adjust my eye position in order to see. And obviously that's not a good thing for safety because you can't do just a quick eye check. On a bicycle with my special mirrors, it's just like a millisecond. Your eyes flick to the mirror and flick back to the road again. You can do it very quickly. But with this mirror, I find I end up looking and I can't see. So I look and okay, anything coming up behind me? And on this trip, I was taken by surprise several times by vehicles that just suddenly appeared beside me, and I had no idea they were there. I didn't hear them coming up behind me, and I didn't see them in the mirror. So I do wish I had different mirrors that I could put on a scooter like this. The end result, after the first one or two cars surprised me. I made even more of an effort to hug the shoulder. I stayed as close to the edge of the road as possible at all times, just in case, because I don't want to, stray out into the middle of the road because someone could be coming up behind me. But yeah, that's an issue. Yeah, here's a really funny one. Willie G said, I don't like when YouTuber asks for money. And you often get comments like this on YouTube, where I end up tilting my head and I'm wondering, huh? Like, what is he talking about? Like, I just don't get it at all, because obviously if you've seen the video, I never did ask for money. I couldn't ask for money because I have no mechanism by which anyone could give me money anyway. So it's kind of a doubly funny comment. My YouTube channel isn't even monetized. So I look at this, I don't like when YouTuber asks for money, and he's got a thumbs down. I'm like, okay, fair enough. But I don't know what that has to do with this video, because, so I just wonder, who is this person exactly? And were they watching a different video where a YouTuber did ask for money through PayPal or something like that, or Patreon, and then he just happened to open up my video and leave his comment there? I have no idea. KP Ong said, or wrote, glad that you are back to share your Umphang riding adventure. Unfortunately, having scootering sickness riding with your video journey, maneuvering nearly 13,000 bends along the way. He's close. 1,300 bends, more or less. Quite an experience, though. But yeah, that whole time-lapse thing, if you if you watch the whole thing, and if you're susceptible to motion sickness, you'd probably feel a bit ill just from watching the video. I've noticed that people in different countries have different levels of susceptibility to motion sickness. In some countries in Asia, I noticed that if I've taken local transportation, you sit in the back of a pickup truck or something, there might be me and 2 other foreign backpackers. I remember this from Nepal a long time ago. And myself and the Australians in this public transportation, we were absolutely fine. But all the Nepalese, like almost all of them without exception, they all threw up at some point along the journey, particularly the children. And I always felt so bad for them, because the children looked so miserable on that journey. They looked completely defeated because they're so ill. They feel so sick from the constant, turning and motion of the bus or the truck or whatever it is. And then they just sort of sit there staring ahead with this, 1,000-yard stare. And then without even moving, they just throw up, and vomit all down their chest, which, they don't even have the strength to kind of move or take a, plastic bag or something like that to throw up into that, which, yeah. So as I said, I'm not that susceptible to motion sickness unless I read. If I sit in a moving bus and I try to read a book and I look down, then I can start to experience motion sickness. But other than that, I think I'm okay. Nava Jyoti Chetia says, evaporative cooling should be the cure for the heat in a scooter ride. A second t-shirt rinsed with water and wrung and worn for the breeze to catch the moisture and turn into vapor evaporative cooling from the clothes, but use with your own discretion. Could also bring in the flu. Yeah, that's a good tip. Certainly something I did a lot when I was bike touring. You get very hot, of course, when you're riding a bike, or very sweaty. And so I'm riding the bike along, and if I ever saw like a little waterfall at the side of the road, I just pull over on my bike, peel off my shirt. I'd soak the shirt in the stream or the waterfall, whatever it is, get it soaking wet, put the shirt back on, and then continue riding. And I just do that repeatedly, all day long. On a scooter, it's not that big a deal because you're moving at such a high speed. The wind cools you down quite a bit. It's only when you stop moving, the heat suddenly hits you and you realize just how hot it is. I remember a funny moment in Sumatra related to evaporative cooling, and soaking your t-shirt. I was riding my bike there along the coast of Sumatra, and I got extremely hot, and there was no water around. I wasn't passing any rivers or streams or waterfalls or anything, but I happened to pass this little village, a little place, the side of the road, and they had a car wash or a car detailing kind of operation, and they had a power washer. So they had some cars there, and then they were spraying it with this hose. So basically all I saw in my head was, oh, they have a hose and they're spraying the water. And the people in Indonesia in general and Sumatra where I was are just extremely open to conversation, willing to engage with me everywhere I go. So I had no trouble at all, just sort of turning my bike into this little car wash place. And I was going to go up to the guys and say, you know, okay, this is kind of goofy, but, you know, would you mind soaking me down? You know, take your hose and just, you know, soak my shirt so I can continue on. It's kind of a goofy thing to do, but I'm sure they wouldn't mind at all. So I pull in there on my bike, and it turns out they really had no idea what I was talking about. And they just sort of kind of stared at me, and you know, they smiled and were very friendly, but they didn't know what I wanted. And I took off my shirt, and then I was sort of indicating the hose, you know, can you spray it and soak it? And instead of doing that, they handed me the hose. So me, being a dummy and not really focusing very clearly, I take this thing with the big handle on it, and I'm holding out the t-shirt, and I hit the nozzle. And if you're smart, you know where this story is going. That thing is a power washer. That's not a garden hose. So I hit the nozzle on this thing, and this power washer nearly cut my hand off. I mean, those things are so powerful, and I was aiming it at my hand. And anyone with a power washer knows, yeah, you don't want to do that. You don't take one of these things and spray your body. I mean, you'll tear your skin off. So anyway, that was kind of a stupid thing, you know, but of course I stopped really fast. I didn't damage myself or anything, but then I kind of held my shirt up safely, and then I kind of soaked my shirt with the water. But I think about those couple of guys in Sumatra now. They must think back and think, boy, that foreigner, you know, has he never seen a power washer before? You know, that thing, well, you know, we cut through concrete with that. Why is he spraying his arm with it? But anyway, that was my funny soaking my t-shirt story. Melina Brunet commented, yeah, glad to follow your adventures, Doug. Epic intro with this accelerated recording of the winding, curvy road. I was glad when you had the break halfway. I needed it. So that's another reason why I stuck those little conversation bits in the middle, just to break up the time lapse. I did it twice, actually. There was a break at the muddy section, and then I took a break underneath this shelter. So there are actually 2 breaks in there. And then she says something very nice. You have a talent for observation and for making the details you notice so interesting. I miss travel. Thank you so much for sharing. And interesting story, I actually met Melina. She and her family and friends and a whole bunch of children all came to Malaysia when I was there. And she contacted me beforehand, and we managed to meet up when I was in Kuala Lumpur. So that was very nice. Richard Asia from, he's a YouTuber, technology YouTuber from Kuala Lumpur. He says, ha, new route, exclamation mark. So he's happy that I've broken out of the grip that Mesot had on me. Andy Tan says, like you had another haircut. Definitely. Funny story about that. Can the bike travel the whole distance on one tank? First, the haircut. I was about to leave Mesot, and then I don't know, I just felt like my hair was too long. I kind of looked in the mirror, and it was all kind of, I thought, maybe it's time to get a haircut before I leave to go to Umphang. So even though it was earlier than I would normally get a haircut, I normally let like 2 or 3 months go by, let my hair get longer, and then I get it cut off, and it gets longer. So I don't normally get a haircut every 4 weeks or every 6 weeks or anything like that. But I don't know, I was just in the mood to get a haircut. So I went to the barber in Mesot, And just as I sat down in the barber chair and looked in the mirror, I noticed, actually, my hair isn't really that long. I don't really need a haircut yet, to be honest. But since I was already in the chair, and then the guy started cutting, and I'm going to pay him for the haircut, he figured, well, I mean, I have to do something to justify, getting paid for a haircut. So he took my already short hair and, cut it even shorter, which is logical. I went there for a haircut, so he cut my hair, and I ended up with this pretty short cut, which I'm fine with. But I wouldn't normally get a cut this short. Can the bike travel the whole distance on one tank? I think it could have. I think I could have gone all the way from Mae Sot to Umphang on one tank of gas. I talk about that a lot in the extended version of the video, where people warn me in advance that there isn't a lot of gas available on the Sky Highway. So you may have to make sure you have enough gas to get you through that entire windy portion, because if you run out, there are no gas stations there. So I was thinking about this quite a bit, and I made sure to fill my tank right before I went into the hills. And it turns out I had plenty of gas, so I didn't really need to worry about it. A few people commented on my extended absence from YouTube. Nay, you're back. Words can't explain how much we miss you. Don't leave us hanging again, buddy. Thenko, finally our superhero is back. Ping Chup, at least keep update, at least reply in the comment. Yeah, point taken. I just had other things to do. I got busy with some other stuff in Mae Sot, and I kind of got out of the habit of YouTube for a while. And yeah, I was just doing some other things. And once you get out of the habit of posting videos, it's such a time and energy intensive thing to do that it's hard to start up again. So the longer you delay, the harder it is to start again, I find. So, and time kind of got away from me. It was just, I don't know, this weird pandemic era that we're all living in. I think it's only been a couple of days, and then it turns out it's been 3 weeks or something like that, or longer. And then when people would ask, like, where are you? What's going on? In my head, I'm always thinking, well, tomorrow I'm going to post a video anyway, so everybody will know what's going on. But then the next day will come and I don't post a video and think, well, I'm going to do it tomorrow, and then tomorrow, then tomorrow. I am a highly skilled procrastinator in all aspects of life. I think it is easily my biggest fault, and it has gotten me in so much trouble in my life on every level. I cannot tell you. I've just never been able to break that procrastination habit. It's a real, all my fellow procrastinators out there, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. It's a hard habit to break, and it can cause a lot of trouble. Careless 1, how many times did you stop for petrol? Did the scooter find it hard going? I only stopped to get gas one time. I left Mae Sot with a full tank, and then after 50 kilometers, right before the hills, I topped up the tank, and that got me to Umphang without any issue at all. And as I just said, I think I could have gone all the way from Mae Sot. Ooh, that's a big mosquito. Get away. I could have gone all the way from Mae Sot to Umphang on one tank, I think, without much trouble. Though, I mean, I have the habit of filling up all the time. I mean, anytime the tank gets to half, I just fill it all the way to the top again. I never let it drop below half anyway. And did the scooter find it hard going? No, not really. When I was living in Taiwan, I had a 150cc scooter, and I was interested in that one in particular because I wanted that little bit of extra power, because the hills in Taiwan are also quite steep. And I got accustomed to that 150cc engine. This one that I rented is a 125, a basic 125cc scooter. And I can feel the difference. My old 150 had a lot more power than this 125 does. You wouldn't think 25 cc's would make that big a difference, but it really does. So I can feel the difference. I would prefer to have a 150, I think. But this 125 had no trouble at all with those hills. It didn't struggle. At one point in the extended video, I talked about being concerned about the scooter overheating. So I stopped from time to time just to let it rest and cool down. But that wasn't because it was overheating or I had any sense that it was overheating. I couldn't feel heat and there was no red lights or anything. The scooter just ran no problem the entire time. But just erring on the side of caution, you know, I'd occasionally pull over and then just sort of sit there for a while and look around and, you know, just let the scooter cool down just in case it was struggling. But I don't think it struggled at all. You know, got me here without, any issues at all. Tajumul Hussein, seeing so many curvy roads, I will go into hibernation. Yeah, that was something about even me driving. You're curving, winding constantly. It has kind of a lulling effect on your brain. You're just sort of moving in and out of the curve, on and on and on. And it almost has a hypnotizing effect on you. Aren't cobras, certain snakes, supposed to use that technique, you know, where they kind of sway back and forth and it just sort of freezes their prey, you know, sort of hypnotizes them. And as you're curving, you know, the same sort of thing happens. So I can imagine, going into hibernation from all the curving. Wesley 417, good to see you back, Doug. How is it going? All good? Whew, that is a big question. Everything's fine, you know, all is good. So no issues there. But maybe I'll leave the answer to that question to the extended video because I think I have a little bit of a life update in there. I talk about things that are going on. The main issue continues to be travel restrictions and what comes next, especially in terms of going to other countries. You know, the vaccine is being rolled out worldwide, and the hope is that as large populations get vaccinated, restrictions become loosened, and then you'll be allowed. It'll be harder for a long time to get tourist visas. Everything's going to be more restricted for a long time, I think. But eventually, it should be possible to move to other countries when the mood strikes you. And of course, I can't stay in Thailand forever. In fact, my visa options might fully expire forever in another 60 or 70 days. So I might have to make plans for leaving Thailand for sure, for sure, you know, in 2 months, because there may not be any more visa extensions available to me. I haven't heard any news about that. And I don't want to babble on too long about future options, you know, future plans, because every day I have a different idea for what I want to do. It's kind of pointless in a way to plan too far ahead. But deep down, I do have this consistent feeling that always seems to come back that whatever I end up doing, I wouldn't mind stopping off in Canada. So whether I go from Thailand to Canada or from Thailand to another country that is open and then to Canada, I'm thinking about work options in the near future, going back to work somewhere. And before I do that, before I settle into a job anywhere, with a lot of traveling as I'm working, so my lifestyle shouldn't change that much even if I am working again. I want to work in an interesting place, a new country with new areas to explore. But even if I do that, I feel like I want to go back to Canada first and just sort of touch base and just sort of get organized and kind of get things in my life back on track. You know, you kind of lose a sense of identity also when you're overseas, as long as I have been. And I can see it being very helpful physically and logistically and practically just to touch down in Canada for a little while. And psychologically, I think it would be very nice to do. You kind of start forgetting who you are when you're away from your home for a long time. So it'd be kind of nice to go back to Canada and just go, oh, okay, yeah, this is where I'm from. You know, this is where I grew up, and these are my people, and this is, you know, there's my life, and this is the forward momentum of my life. This is where I started. And then with that kind of sense of who I am, then you can more happily leave again and go somewhere new. I sort of feel like if I go directly from Thailand to a brand new country and stay there for 2 or 3 years, I might not be as happy as if I had gone back to Canada first, then got a sense of excitement again. You know, okay, Canada is normal and ordinary for me, and now other countries seem exotic and exciting again. I've been overseas for so long that maybe I've lost a little bit of that edge where it's like, whoa, that's so interesting, because everything kind of seems normal to me now. Everything I see here in Southeast Asia, you know, it's kind of familiar. This is normal for me now. And maybe going back to Canada will kind of kickstart a sense of excitement, a sense of newness again. So in terms of future plans, always in the back of my mind is this idea that whichever direction I go in, stopping off in Canada for a little while might be on the table. But Canada is not making things easy. If you look in the news, I don't want to talk about it at length because it would go on forever, but the whole response to the pandemic in Canada has just been weird. And just now, like just a month ago, they finally put in place a 3-day hotel quarantine for anyone arriving in Canada, which is fine. Other countries have had, 2-week quarantines for a year already. I mean, that's normal. Thailand has been doing it. China has been doing it. Everybody's been doing it for at least a year now. Canada never did it. And now they finally put in this 3-day hotel quarantine, but they did it in the most ham-fisted way imaginable. From what I'm reading in the news, the whole program is a complete disaster. I mean, Thailand puts Canada to shame when it comes to how well they organized everything in Thailand. The hotel quarantine system they have here for, people arriving in the country, from what I've seen on YouTube and in the news, appears to be super well organized, efficient. People know how to go about it. It makes sense. It's logical. The Canadian system is just a complete disaster. So they seem to have made it more difficult and weirder and much more expensive to go back to Canada at this point. So not very good timing as far as that is concerned. But hopefully things will be better by the time I end up going back to Canada, if in fact I end up doing that. Instant coffee number 2. Move the GoPro a little bit closer to me. Yeah, I'm still really digging this remote control. It's one of those weird things where if someone said to me, hey, Doug, you should get a remote control, I would poo-poo the idea, like, what do I need a remote control for? I can push the button, But once you start using it, it's like, wow, this is really cool. Like, how did I live without a remote control before? But one weird thing about it is that I have it paired, as I said, with 2 GoPros at the same time. And it can do weird things because I don't think it was fully designed to run 2 Hero 7 Blacks. So sometimes it doesn't quite know what it's doing. I have my, the second one, Armando here, GoPro number 2, was in my knapsack. And then when I hit the record button, meaning to turn on this GoPro, it turned on both of them. This one started recording, and it turned this one on, and started recording at the same time. So even though this one was powered down, it turned it on. But I didn't want it to do that. I only wanted it to start recording on one. So now I have to kind of keep an eye on what is happening. I never know whether it's affecting one GoPro or two GoPros. Anyway, I do like the remote. I was just chatting with the manager of this guest house, the Umphang house, and I asked him about the rain because, as I said, it rained heavily every day at exactly 3:30 or 4 o'clock. And I'm wondering whether that means the rainy season has started. And he said, no, it's not the rainy season. This is the hot season that just started. And the rain that we've had, he said, were just storms. And that's why they were so dramatic. I mean, they just came out of nowhere. Heavy wind, pouring rain, and then it would rain heavily for an hour or half an hour. I think it was like an hour. And then it would stop. And that's, he said, was just a storm passing through. And if it was the rainy season, of course, it would just be sort of raining all the time. And it would be more spread out rather than like a sudden downpour like that. That's what he said, anyway. Anyway, I'm glad to hear that it's not quite the rainy season yet. Well, this replying to comments, on camera is going on a lot longer than I had anticipated, but that's that's what I do, right? Rex T commented, somebody did comment that there were a lot of curves on this route. But guessing from your absence, I'd have thought you were lost in one of them. You seem to have taken a close cut too, Doug. Now waiting for your take on the local scene. Yeah, a lot of curves. Funny thing is, I couldn't remember whether there was 1,290 curves, 1,209, 1,219. I knew there was a 9 in there, but I wasn't quite sure. But since I arrived in Umphang, now I know it's 1,219 because there's kind of a coffee shop and tourism store about a block or 2 blocks away from here. I've gone there a couple of times to have a cup of coffee, and they sell all this stuff for tourists, and you can buy T-shirts that have, Sky Highway, 1,219 curves. They have posters, 1,219 curves. You can buy, I think, coffee mugs that say, 1,219 curves and stickers and on and on and on. So since I arrived in Umphang, I've seen the number 1219 everywhere. So now I won't forget. And he commented, I've taken a close cut. Yeah, as I commented that this, I lost all my hair, so it's a bit closer than I would normally have it, but it will grow out again. Just have to wait for that to happen. And that is all the comments on for that video. So I kind of went through them all. So I have reached the end of the comments for that video. My original plan was just sort of to whip through them really quickly, and then I was going to get out my keyboard and actually type replies to all those comments before I head out and start my day. But the weather is so nice right now that I don't think I should delay any longer. It's nice and cool right now. It's still, it's about 8:30 in the morning. So I think I'm going to pack up my life, pack up my gear, and head out for a little walk around Umphang, and then hop on the scooter and go to a cave which is nearby, and that will be my big adventure for the day. Go check out this cave. To be honest, I don't know whether I'll be able to even get into the cave. It might not be open. Things just tend to be closed at random these days because of the lack of tourists and the pandemic. And I don't know anything about the cave. I found no information about it other than I see its location on a map. And anyway, it'll be a nice drive to get there anyway. It's only like 5 or 6 kilometers away. But I think this walk around Umphang and going to the cave I'm going to put in a separate video. I'm just going to package my thoughts about these comments into one video and post that to YouTube, and then I'll start again with my adventures of today in a brand new video, and I'll see you in that video.